Mark Rogers TV talking Florida State with David Waters from Gators Breakdown. And let's flip the script and talk Florida State offense against FSU defense. I had my questions about the Gators defense. Not that it was a horrible defense by any stretch, but I had it ranked in that top 3 to 5 range. They go to Arkansas. They get run on in that game and hit up in the play action game by Austin Allen. But that was really the one letdown game of the entire season, as you mentioned. Looking at Florida State offensively, this seems from a productivity standpoint to be the same offense they had last year. It's not a vintage Seminoles offense. DeAndre Francois brings something to the table that Everett Golson does not, but Dalvin Cook's the best in the business or near the top, and they're having issues getting the ball to the playmakers on the outside and really not looking good against the better defenses that they face. So you got to be fairly confident that the Gators can limit things by Florida State on offense.
Mark, you would think so. I mean, you remember going back to last year's game when you and I reviewed that game. I mean, they held Dalvin Cook for 3 quarters, and it was the 4th quarter after this defense got worn down to where Dalvin Cook took over the game and stretched the lead for Florida State and put the game away. I mean, Florida wasn't scoring much on offense that game anyway, but they stayed in that game just because they held Dalvin Cook down. So I think the script is kind of the same this year. If you can keep Dalvin Cook from getting the big yards, the big play, you're going to stay in this game. I don't think DeAndre Francois can beat this Florida secondary by himself, as you mentioned, where they're struggling, from Seminoles teams past of getting the ball to the wideouts. So I think, Florida's going to play a bend but don't break defense. And Mark, I got a stat for you right now. If we go to the red zone, the Gators are the #1 red zone defense in the nation. Florida State is #1 red zone offense in the nation. So something's going to give there. They might stalemate. We saw, all you have to do is really go back to last week and saw what Florida did in the red zone against LSU. And, that you see an advantage there. And kind of Jeff Collins, the defensive coordinator, brought that with him from Mississippi State. That was a strong suit he had there with less talent, but he's even brought that back to Florida with him, to keep, it's a bend but don't break defense. And right now with Florida playing with so many young guys, so because of all the injuries to Alex Anzalone and Jared Davis and Marcus May and now Nick Washington, I mean, Florida's playing really young guys. David Reese, a true freshman, he has 23 tackles over the last 2 weeks, led the team in tackles the last 2 weeks. It's going to be up to him and these young guys to keep making plays. And so, this is what happens. This is the 2nd week in a row where you're traveling on the road against an opponent that, you're probably not supposed to beat. The emotion's going to have to carry this defense again. It's with the young guys, but, this late in the season, you're not really a freshman anymore. This is game 12 now for Florida, game 11 because they lost a game. So, youth is not an excuse. So you got to stop Dalvin Cook. I think that's pretty much the plan. They're going to stack the box. Tabor, you got your man. Quincy Wilson, you got your man. We're going to stack the box, and we're going to make Dalvin Cook beat us. So that's going to be the formula, I think. It sounds simple, of course, and we saw last year they couldn't do it for 4 quarters. So I think the script's going to be a lot like last year. So we'll see with these young guys if they can keep that up. But Florida would love to have Jared Davis. I doubt he plays. Jim McElwain hasn't said much about him playing. It's more of a pain tolerance type of thing with his high ankle sprain. Maybe trying to save him for the SEC championship game next week, but and trying to get him 80, 90%. But it would be nice if the Gators could trot him out there on Saturday night.
David, you kind of stole my question there because it does seem like a very much of a scripted game, formula game, run the football, do what you do best on offense, don't make mistakes, don't do anything crazy, don't risk turning the ball over, leave it over to the other side of the football, your better half on defense for really both sides, especially Florida, but both sides. Is there a player? Is there something we're not thinking about? And you can throw the special teams in the mix as well that could turn this game, or something that you're looking out for, especially from a Florida side, but even from an FSU side that, maybe this guy hasn't had the best year, or nobody's thinking about him, and he could make a play or two.
2 things for both sides there. For Florida, we saw against South Carolina, Austin Appleby used his legs. He had like a 35-yard run and a close to like another 25, 30-yard run there. you didn't see at all against LSU. He didn't even try zone read or nothing like that. I don't even think it was really called. So I want to see if Florida, the coaches, I mentioned the teams that FSU had trouble with early on in the season with Chad Kelly and Ole Miss and Lamar Jackson of Louisville and Deshaun Watson at Clemson. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Austin Alves in the same league as those guys, but they bring an element with their legs that that did hurt the FSU defense. So I would like to see if Florida's going to incorporate more of that. It could, third and shorts, that could be a play there that could bust a play if FSU's not looking for it. Like I said, Florida ran it against South Carolina, didn't run it at all against LSU. So I'd like to see if Florida's going to use Austin Appleby's legs a little bit more. And for Florida, for the FSU side, I mean, getting Dalvin Cook involved in the passing game, he is the second leading of yardage pass wise for FSU. So, and he's the running back. So, and Florida has had trouble with the running back screen game on defense this year. So, look for, I think, FSU to get Dalvin Cook the ball out of in the screen game. Florida's defensive line is so aggressive; they get up the field so fast that running back screens have really hurt this team. So we saw it against Arkansas. Darius Guys had a big one last week against LSU or for LSU. So I think that's what Jimbo Fisher may try and come and do with Dalvin Cook a little bit. So this Florida defense as a whole is so aggressive that they let some of the easy plays get by them. So I think that's two keys there I'm looking for both offenses for this game.